This is Open to Hope Radio, featuring Dr. Gloria Horsley and her daughter, Dr. Heidi Horsley, coming to you on behalf of the Open to Hope Foundation, dedicated to those who are looking for hope after loss. Now, here's Dr. Gloria.
Welcome to the Open to Hope Show. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Horsley, with my co-host, Dr. Heidi Horsley. Well, good morning from California, Heidi.
Hi, Mom, from New York City.
Well, Heidi, we've got a wonderful guest today who's done some great things. Do you want to introduce our guest?
Yes, I would love to, and I'm looking forward to the show. Our guest today is Jesse Roberts. Jesse is no stranger to grief and loss. He lost both of his parents before he graduated from high school. He was determined that he would not let his grief destroy him, but would use it to help others. He is the author of Katie the Ladybug, How to Explain Grief to a Child. Welcome to the show, Jesse.
Thank you so much. Thank you both so much for having me on the show today.
Oh, it's great to have you on, Jesse. And I love your book. You sent it to me. It is so darling, and it is so clear, and it's got all these darling little ladybugs on it. And it's explaining grief and loss of the children. Tell us about your life and how you came to write this book.
Okay, sure. I lost my mother when I was 4 years old, very unexpectedly. I lost my father when I was 16, and those two losses have really shaped and molded my perspective on life more than anything, really given me a passion for helping other people, and have really, writing the book was my way of making sense of the losses that I had experienced. And so it was kind of my way of finding meaning in those experiences in a way to kind of make sense of everything that had taken place.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Jesse, how did your mom die at 4? When you were 4?
It was very unexpected. Actually, there is still no conclusion as far as that's concerned.
Okay.
She was actually 35, very healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Went
really
to bed
young.
one night, very young, and didn't wake up the next morning. And autopsies were performed and medical exams and everything, and the conclusion was natural causes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very scary, don't you think, Mom? I mean, here you are, 4 years old, and you find out that your mother has died in her sleep. And I know my mom can add to this, but I know that you say in your account that here you are, 4 years old, your mom has died in her sleep, and you're trying to make sense out of this, and your dad kind of spirals into alcoholism. So it sounds like he's not really there to be able to help you through your own grief process.
Exactly. That's so true. That was one of the most difficult things in that journey, was the fact that no one in my family really knew how to approach the topic or how to deal with it themselves. And so I didn't really have anyone there to model the appropriate behavior for healthy grieving. And so as a 4-year-old, I'm struggling with, number one, where's my mom? And number two, what's happened? And, why is my dad crying all the time? And, what's happening to my family? And so trying to make sense of all that at the age of 4 was very difficult, especially when there wasn't very much education in our family about how to deal with such things.
Now, did you have somebody there for you? Because you've done so well with your life, and sometimes we find that there was somebody around.
Absolutely. Actually, my family did the best they could as far as the whole grief and loss thing was concerned. They tried to explain it, but it was actually when I was later in life, probably in middle school, that I really found solace in a good friend, actually a teacher friend of mine. He kind of took me under his wing and really just worked with me and became a really close friend and mentor. And his name was Alan Metcalf, and he and I became really good friends, and he almost became kind of a big brother figure to me. And so was able to kind of help me through that and got me involved with community, with the church. And, sometimes you hear the phrase, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, that was actually the case with me. I was raised more or less by my church and by the community because my family didn't have the resources needed to do that. And so I had a lot of people from various walks of life who stepped up to the plate and made sure that I had all the resources that I needed and made sure that I had everything I needed to kind of deal with these experiences. And so I was very blessed and very lucky to have those later in life, for sure.
Wow, that's really touching, isn't it, Heidi?
Absolutely. And it just shows, Mom, as we always say, the importance of having somebody else in your life, because the reality is when a child has a loss, whether it be a sibling or a parent, it is a double loss. You lose not only that sibling or parent, but you lose, like Jesse said, the emotional availability of your parent or parents that are there. because they're
Absolutely.
grieving.
Yeah, so it says a lot to the folks out there. If you've, had a loss and you are raising children, try to find let people come into their life and be supportive, because I think that's really important. And ask your neighbors and ask people to help you out, because they will. And it's important to get that community involved. I like that, Jesse, very much. Now, didn't you write your book when you were in high school?
I did, actually. Yeah. In North Carolina, one of the requirements for graduation is that students do a senior project. And involved in that senior project is a research paper, and you have to develop some type of product and do a presentation in front of a board of judges, actually. And so for my research, I chose to research the psychological effects of losing a parent in childhood or adolescence. And so it was kind of a passion of mine, and so I felt a way that maybe I could enjoy the project was to do research in something that I was interested in. And so did that, and as a product, I actually wrote Katie the Ladybug, explaining emotions of grief to a child. And it was illustrated by someone that was in my high school class. She was an art student at the time. And later, when we had had it published, there was the publisher's daughter actually did the illustrations. And so it all came out of a high school project, which is a pretty cool story.
It is. It's a wonderful story.
It is amazing. And how old were you when you wrote that? Was that before or after your father died? Because I know your father died when you were 16.
That's right. I was 18 when I wrote the children's book. So that was in the spring of 2007, actually.
Now, how did you deal with your father's death after, were you living with him, and was he available? And
I actually was not living with him at the time. Family dynamics kind of shifted when I was in high school, actually when I was entering my freshman year, and there was some drug abuse, alcohol abuse, various types of abuse in the home. And so the Department of Social Services intervened and actually removed me from the home. I moved around a few times before settling with a family who attended the church that I was a part of. And so I actually settled with them right after my dad passed when I was 16. And so it was kind of moving around different family members and with different friends and things for a couple of years before settling with them. And so they've been a tremendous blessing in my life. But that's kind of the way all that took place. But dealing with that, again, it's like I said, having that strong support system was probably the most valuable tool. That in combination with my faith and just, a passion for making sense of the losses I'd experienced and making meaning of that.
Wow, Heidi, talk about the hero's journey. Heidi and I have, been talking about how people have these kind of experiences, and then they find a turning point, and then they actually become a hero. And Heidi and I are interested in having people accept that fact that they're a hero of their own journey. And I would certainly say you are, wouldn't you, Heidi?
This is an amazing story, Jesse. You are such an inspiration to me. And now you are impacting hundreds and hundreds of lives. And I know that I just read something about you that you raised, was it money or et cetera, to send 1,000 books to Newtown? Then to send books to the elementary schools in Newtown?
That's right. We
more
actually
about
did.
That?
Absolutely. My publishers and I, after we heard what had taken place in Newtown, really our hearts broke, as I'm sure everyone's did. And so I think at that point everyone was wondering, what can we do? What is something tangible we can do? Because there's no way to take away the pain or the emotional scars that took place on that day. And so one of the things we decided we could do was start a campaign to raise money to send copies of Katie the Ladybug to the children in Newtown. And so we raised money and actually raised right over $7,000, which covers the cost of sending over 700 books to the children of Newtown. And so we partnered with an organization up there who was going to distribute the books and have sent a couple of hundred already. And given the nature of the crisis, they were, obviously in crisis mode in the beginning, so we're kind of holding off before we send any more. But we're going to be sending the rest of those over the course of the next couple of months, just so that they can have those as a resource there in Newtown after the tragedy took place.
That's great. Well, let's talk about, tap your experience a little bit for our audience out there. What are some of the psychological aspects for kids who lose a parent?
Well, and one of the highlights of the children's book is the different emotions that they experience. And that's something I'd like to talk a little bit about. None of the emotions that children experience psychologically really are magical. There's nothing magical about these emotions. It's just emotions that we've all experienced at some point or another. And the emotions that we've identified are sadness, anger, guilt, jealousy, anxiety, fear, and happiness. And so, really it's just a matter of knowing how to approach those and knowing how to recognize those, especially as a family member or friend in the community, being able to recognize those and know how to speak with children about their feelings. And half the battle really is just being able to allow them to find someone that they can speak to about these things. Because I think we all know that if we hold these things in, they come out in unhealthy ways later. And so really it's just a matter of being able to recognize what that child needs, recognize their reaction, and know how to respond. And the beautiful thing about it is you don't always have to have the perfect response. And many times silence or just presence, being able to be present with the child during their grief journey is more important than anything, more valuable to them. Just to know that they have someone there.
And this book is so wonderful because they're these darling little ladybugs. I'm looking at it now. Beautiful colors and those emotions that you're talking about. Well, I'll just give one example of Mindy. Mindy became jealous. She was the youngest of her siblings and no one paid any attention. She felt deserted and alone. And that's all there is on the page in that picture of Mindy. And it is so simple and so clear, those emotions. Mm-hmm. What a great thing to show a child so they can identify them, don't you think, Heidi?
Powerful, and like you said, Mom, there's not a lot of text. It's enough that the child can really understand and identify with what's going on in that picture and on that page. And
I honestly, this wouldn't be a bad book for a teenager. because people like a brief now, and just being able to identify your emotions, I think, is really powerful, Jesse.
Absolutely. Well, I've actually had a high school guidance counselor say that she has used it with high schoolers and that it was actually very effective, which I was surprised about because, that wasn't the intention behind writing it, but I was really pleasantly surprised to hear that there was a good response from that. So that was pretty awesome. Mm-hmm.
Well, Jesse, also it keeps it in the metaphor. Kids and teens would rather talk about ladybugs and what's going on with those than talk about their own experiences, even though
Absolutely.
It's one and the same.
Absolutely. That's so very true.
So do you have any rituals that you like, any special things that you do to help people when they've had a loss?
One of the things, especially with children in particular, I like to have them draw pictures. And again, kind of an art therapy perspective with that, just being able to draw something or write it out and then talk about it. And that's very useful even with teens or adults. Anybody can sit down and draw. You don't have to be a phenomenal artist to kind of express your emotions on paper. So doing that or journaling or different things like that, or creating maybe scrapbooks, different things to remember your loved one in a healthy way. So just ways to kind of get those emotions out. And a lot of times it's just a matter of looking through those pictures and acknowledging the fact that there is a loss. You do miss that person, but remembering the good times that you've had with them.
And then how about, I was thinking about you're a guy and sports and that kind of thing, just shooting some hoops with somebody or going for a run with them, or I don't know, what kinds of things?
Absolutely. Yeah. For us, it was really just like I said, we were both involved in the same church. He's actually the one who got me involved in the church that I attended at the time. And so doing various youth group activities and, going hiking or going on, trips with the youth group, doing different things like that, or, just going out to eat from time to time and catching up on, what things are going on, or, even from time to time, it's like you said, going for a run or just going for a drive or something like that, just to have that one-on-one time with someone that you knew cared. And so that was the most valuable tool.
You know what really comes up for me, Jesse, too, and for our audience out there, if you've had a loss and you're ready, reaching out to other people who've had a loss is an amazing thing because, Jesse, you're showing how much impact one person or a group of people can have on a life. It's pretty profound, isn't it, Heidi?
It is, and now he's paying it forward.
Well, Jesse, thanks again for being on the show and for all the good you're doing in the world. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks a lot for listening today, and God bless.
You've been listening to Open to Hope Radio, hosted by Drs. Gloria and Heidi Horsley. Like today's edition, all of our past programs are available on demand at opentohope.com, along with helpful articles, videos, resources, and links to help get you through the toughest time of your life. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter and sign up for our monthly newsletter. Again, that's opentohope.com. Check it out today. Then be sure to stop by next Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time when we'll be posting another edition of Open to Hope Radio. Remember, others have been where you are. They made it through, and you can too, as long as you're open to hope.